Foundations to Freedom is recovery residences for people in early recovery. And since in the 2 years that Foundations to Freedom has been a nonprofit, we have grown into also offering services for domestic violence as well as trafficking victims, which we have found for the women and children that we serve goes along with the disease of addiction. Being somebody who has went through addiction myself, there were times when I was in active addiction, when I had that fleeting moment of willingness where I really wanted to stop using. I'd get on the phone and start making phone calls. And I'd spend all day long on the phone and get nowhere. Couldn't find a detox, couldn't find a rehab bed where I could get help. I started the foundation so that people in addiction who had that fleeting moment of willingness and really wanted to get services and get help had somewhere to go in our community, especially on the west side of Volusia County. There's a huge shortage of services for people seeking help in the disease of addiction is so huge in our community. I have lost not only a husband to the disease of addiction, but also many, many friends along the way. Knowing how deadly addiction can be, especially with the drugs of today, with fentanyl being in everything, I think it's important that any person who wants to change their life and needs help to do that has somewhere to go to do it. So we started Foundations to Freedom to offer other addicts help with real services and real wraparound care to actually meet the addict in early recovery exactly where they are and get them all the services that are really needed to rebuild their lives. So every single client that comes into Foundations to Freedom is assigned a case manager at admission. That case manager takes them through the admission process. Within their first 72 hours here, that case manager meets with them and creates a custom case plan for every single person that we take in. Then that same case manager stays with the person all the way through their stay, the entire time that they're here, to meet with them weekly at a minimum, to say, okay, we've connected you with trauma counseling, with STD testing and treatment for hepatitis C, HIV. We've sent you to the doctor for medical care. We connected you with the WVHA for insurance, the house next door for counseling, Safe Behavioral for trauma care. How is that working? How is that doing for you? Are the services that we connected with working for you? Are you having trouble connecting with any of these services? Are they working for you? Do you need something more? After an individual puts the substances down, they're still left with themselves. The person that feels like they have to use drugs on a daily basis to get through life on life's terms. So in order to really rebuild your life, at least I know from my own experience, I needed more services than just a roof over my head. When I was struggling to get clean myself, I went through different sober living houses, and the model typically always looks the same. It's a roof over your head, go to meetings, get a job, and figure it out. And I needed more than that to rebuild my life. I needed trauma counseling. I needed, more than just a 12-step recovery program. I was a very, very broken individual when I got into early recovery and needed more services. And typically, without knowing where to get those and what's available in the community, because the services are in our community. There's a lot of agencies that provide a wide range of services, but not knowing how to connect to those or where to get those or what's available makes it very difficult for a person to get connected. The disease of addiction is the same across the board as far as the emotion and the desperation that goes into a person finally wanting to seek help from addiction. None of us come into recovery at a high point, but there is a reason that an individual feels like they have to have drugs on a daily basis to get through life. The desperation and the pain's the same, but every person's story differs. And what they go through out there in the streets is trauma. I started Foundations to Freedom so that anyone suffering with substance use disorder could find the services that they need to rebuild their lives, become a productive member of society, and gain freedom from the disease of addiction.